This is another Poets at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Good luck.
What's good, everybody? How's it going? Back with another General's Report. It is Monday, so I do not have an interview for you today. Sorry about that. I'm going to be working on getting more of those, but, you know, it's Christmas time. It's the Advent season and everything, and so a lot of people are very busy with all kinds of other things, and so I'm sure that we're going to get a whole lot more in January. But we do have a few scheduled for December. One of which I'm pretty excited about is Pastor Toby Sumpter, which you'll see when it comes out. But I'm pretty excited about it. So, what else has been up? Well, my sister actually gave me an interesting gift. You can see it on camera if you're looking at me. It is a kalimba, and now you can hear it. Yep, I am really loving this thing. It's a really nice kalimba too. She didn't skimp on it, and I'm thinking about playing with some effects pedals and things, particularly a looper, which I'll be getting soon, and trying to live score some of my storytelling. I've tried other instruments. My main instrument is a tin whistle, but of course I have to blow a tin whistle in order to play it. I have another thing that allows me to sort of kind of bagpipe a tin whistle. It's not actually that. It's like electronic. It's MIDI controller type thing, but it's not been working out. I can't really think and do at the same time. I'm not good enough to be that expressive with it, but I have found that this is particularly just expressive. I can talk and I can play, and it just generally works. So I'm excited about that. I've been practicing and working on both playing notes, chords, and just generally trying to become more expressive on it, and also talking while doing it. And also reading while doing it, because a lot of my stories and things, you know, I'm not like a musician where I can, you know, memorize my last 3 albums or so and have no problem. Generally speaking, I want to be able to jump to any one of my stories or other people's, you know, poetry bricks or whatever else as quickly as I can. So that's, you know, a change. But today I wanted to get into something called postmillennialism. Some of you know about it. I've talked about it before. It's just one of these things that comes up every so often with me. And I don't want to talk about this in a bland theology academic sort of way. In fact, I actually don't want to talk about postmillennialism as directly, but I do need to kind of bring about that I believe that ever since Christ, so the world got worse and worse and worse from Adam and Eve, and they got better and better and better from Christ, and is continuing to get better until the end of time. Flies in the face of a lot of people who believe in either historical or dispensational premillennialism, which is sort of the dominant evangelical view these days, unfortunately. But there's a lot of things that go into that. One, I'll just point out sort of as a riddle and start you down the rabbit hole if you're interested. But the first being, many places, the apostles said, Jesus, this must all take place in your lifetime before any of you die, before all of you die, should say. There will be some left before the quote end of the world. So in essence, all of that stuff, you know, in Revelation. Oh, what's going on?
Because you say you got the range I need.
That's strange.
Trunk in the front.
Oh, it's an ad on a page that I was on. That was weird. And my phone started ringing at the same time, so that was very strange. But we'll get back to that. Anyway, so or was I? Yes. So with that being said, is there anything, you know, apocalyptic happening, you know, around after the time of Jesus, like the fall of Jerusalem. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Look up partial preterism. You'll figure out kind of where I stand. I also have very idealist leanings rather. So with all that said, I wanted to actually look at a piece of music, that is not post-millennial, not to tear it down in any way, shape, or form, but actually to admire it, which seems counterintuitive. But you'll see what I mean. I've got it over here, and I'm going to try and edit it onto the screen. I'm still working on my setup to where I can kind of just live have this stuff there. But yeah, this is Be With You by Rich Mullins. Rich was a very interesting guy. I highly recommend the biopic about him, Ragamuffin. It's actually one of my favorite movies. It's probably my favorite biopic. It was incredibly well done. And even though I disagree with a lot of theology in it, it wasn't something that was wrong about Rich Mullins necessarily, although I think he became more, he thought more like me toward the end of his life. But this is an interesting song story. Just a brief background on Rich Mullins. He was a barefoot bard of a man. He was a Christian music guy. You know him for Awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. Everyone knows him for that. But he wrote a lot of other songs, a lot of other interesting songs. He was a very interesting dude, and he died in a car crash in the late 90s. So with that being said, I wanted to dig into this song because I think there's some beauty in the how do I put this? There's common ground between postmillennialists, amillennialists, some of them, not all of them, and premillennialists on certain things. One of which is that Jesus is going to win. What that looks like, is a whole other thing, and people have their own interpretations of scripture, down through the ages. We've had Schofield Bible come in. There's all kinds of stuff. It's a rabbit hole worth going down, but we're not doing that on this show. I'm trying to point out the beauty that is in this song and how even though it is theologically problematic, there is beauty there because it's pointing to the victory of Jesus. So we're going to start this. Everybody, each and all, we're going to die eventually. Memento mori, right? Remember your death. It's no more or less our faults than it is our destiny. So it's our destiny and our fault, right? He's sort of saying it in a backhanded way, right? So now, Lord, I come to you asking only for your grace. You know what I've put myself through, all those empty dreams I chased. I love, love, love that picture of just, the meaninglessness of life. This is very Ecclesiastes, but it's like begging God for the grace that we all know we need, not just for our salvation, but for coping. And then he says, and this is kind of the chorus, sort of, and when my body lies in the ruins of the lies that nearly ruined me, will you pick up the pieces that were pure and true and breathe life into them and set them free? And this is where it starts to get kind of weird, but we're going to work through it. I crossed out the word when. That's his word. He wants to say it with, yes, this is going to happen. I think he actually may have changed his mind before his life was over, or at least been questioning some of these lyrics at some point. But that's beyond this scope. And when I put the word if, because I think it fits better and is more... I could rewrite this entire thing. In fact, I did once, and I'm not going to pull that up and to be a more post-millennial one. But I'd rather do kind of a pan mill, see how it pans out, right? For those who are more pan mill and anything in between. And if you start this world over again from scratch, will you make me anew out of the stuff that lasts, stuff that's purer than gold is and clearer than glass could ever be? Can I be with you? Can I be with you? And that's just the longing that a lot of people, especially now, we're living a tumultuous time in the West. The West is crumbling, and as the West crumbles, so do various parts of the world. There's a lot of turmoil and upheaval, and Jesus is still on the throne, and he will be on the throne. Christendom should have been completely done. The West should have completely been done with the Crusades. The end of the Crusades, when we lost the Holy Land and the plagues spread all over Europe. There was a year that was mostly darkness due to volcanic ash that nearly covered the whole world. Like, we're actually in pretty good shape still, and we do not deserve it. Let me just say that now. We do not deserve it. So, take a sip. Continuing on. And everybody, each and all, from the day that we are born, we have to learn to walk beneath those mercies by which we're drawn. And now we wrestle in the dark with these angels that we can't see. We will move on, although with scars. O Lord, move inside me. I love that just general picture of the spiritual warfare that goes on around us every day. Every day. If you don't have an idea of that spiritual warfare, you need to read your scripture. There's so much that's been going on. I've been dealing with all kinds of random depression and things, and physical depression that's beyond anything I can think about, But I've come, seasonal depression, all kinds of things of that nature. But I've just, God always brings me through it, and he always brings me back to this. This is why I am so hopeful. This is why I know that if I return to being a bard, being my family's bard, being what I'm made to be, playing a kalimba, making these videos, doing all these seemingly meaningless things, God will use them in mighty ways that I may not even know about, as I'm doing them. And so with that spiritual warfare, yeah, we got scars, but if he's moving inside us, something amazing's happening. And when my body lies in the ruins of the lies that have nearly ruined me, will you pick up the pieces that were pure and true and breathe your life into them and set them free? And he's about to go to the end of the song, but let me just pause there and say, this is the truth in Platonism. Right? I'm talking Christian Platonism, obviously, not Greek Platonism. Plato was close, but he did not quite hit it. If you haven't looked up that in philosophy, you should. It's the idea that there is something sort of beyond, right? For those who know Narnia, it's the idea that Ramandu brings up in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Eustace says, what is a star in my universe is just a bunch of burning gas. And then Ramandu says, in your universe, that is not, even then, that is not what a star is, but only what it is made of. So there is more beyond the thing. There is an idea, an ideal beyond, a Platonistic ideal beyond the thing. And so when he's saying, will you pick up the pieces that were pure and true and breathe life into them and set them free? We were all born into original sin. We were all totally depraved, but we were not utterly depraved. The image of God still remained there, and God can never, ever be marred, truly, right? Only the stuff was marred, right? Our flesh was marred. And that's not a flesh spirit thing. Like, it affects every inch of us, our flesh, our spirit, everything. But when God breathes life into that person, and then he starts to sanctify them and make them more like him over time, right? And then eventually glorification. Whatever was still true, not the old man. The old man you're going to blast away, right? The old earth, which he's going to talk about in a moment, you're going to blast away. Now, I don't believe he's literally going to blast it away because he promised in the flood that he wouldn't destroy the earth again. But I do believe that it will be a completely and totally different place however he transforms it. Whether mostly by his church over time, or the real stuff's going to happen at the end, no matter how you look at it. The fact is, this world is changing and is being sanctified. And the evil's going to be more evil, and the good's going to be more good. So many people focus on the evil being more evil. But remember, the church prevails against the gates, not the forces of, against the gates of hell. And when, he says, I say if, and if you blast this cosmos to kingdom come, when those jagged mountains I love are gone, when the sky is crossed with the tears of 1,000 falling suns as they crash into the sea, can I be with you? Can I be with you? This echoes some of what Hebrews says. I know, but bring up Hebrews all the time, when he shakes everything except that which can't be shaken, right? And everything is completely changed. Even if the West crumbles, everything we hold dear, even if my beautiful Appalachian mountains fall, even if, all this stuff. And then to go even more into a colloquialism, some of you will remember Louis Armstrong and, her name escapes me. But she sang it with him. In time, the Rockies may crumble, Gibraltar may tumble. They only made of clay, but our love, or God's love, is here to stay. So yeah, that's my little dive into Be With You by Rich Mullins. A little bit of eschatology for your holiday. Not, super deep. That's not the point of what I'm doing here. My point is to get you thinking, get the riddles going. If you're interested in the actual academic stuff, you should look elsewhere for that. But I think we all really like the mysteries and the riddles and the interesting stuff like that. So I just want you to think about it, regardless of whether you look stuff up. And if you do, I would recommend Gary DeMar. I would recommend some of Ken Gentry's stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Doug Wilson's stuff is really good too. So with all that said, I want to thank you all for being here. And we'll have another General's Report on Friday, Lord willing. And we will talk to you soon. Remember, be your family's bard. Do not turn to the right or to the left, and the Lord will be with you wherever you go. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
God of songs, said the warrior bard, though all the world betray thee, one sword at least thy right shall guard, one faithful heart shall praise thee.
If these words awoke within you a stirring and radiant fire, please remember even a bard is worthy of his wages and hire. Go to joshuadavidling.com/support to support me and my family.